Hey everybody, Brendan here, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to continue our Semi-Slav run. It's been rough getting Semi-Slav games, and then when I do, I'm like out of my mind and just completely forget. So I had to scrap those recordings, unfortunately, because I didn't even record them, and then I ended up losing them anyways. It's not important. So okay, we're in a Semi-Slav. Normal stuff, and they played bishop to f4. Normally you see bishop g5, not f4. So I'm going to play this kind of normally. I'm going to play e6 here. I think what they're trying to do is get some sort of London system, but I feel like this already is incorrect. Now I think we should take on c4. Because I think they'll have a difficult time getting it back. Because I have b5. Yeah. So here, just got to be a little bit careful. Don't, go too crazy or anything. But I think knight d5 kind of helps us a lot. We might also have moves like queen b6. Queen b6 looks a little bit better, honestly. Just so we can meet a4 with b4, and also now we can meet knight takes b5 with queen takes b5. So I'm going to actually opt for queen b6 here. And this knight d5, I was just a little bit worried of some sort of like e4 or some sort of a4 at the end of the day. It feels like things are a little unstable. This move feels a bit better because it does prepare a move like bishop to b7. Now it doesn't. That would be a huge mistake. But we do have this move, knight h5, attacking the queen and the bishop. They can go bishop c7, but we'll just take on g3, and we're quite happy to make those types of exchanges because the more exchanges there are, the easier our position actually becomes to play. So yeah, I'm quite happy to play this move. Bishop c7. We could also go queen b7, but then they go like queen e5. Things are messy. Our development's not amazing. It's not like we're worse there though either. Yeah, so we'll take. And we'll just continue things normally with knight d7 here. No reason to get crazy. And I like bishop b7. Just the slow development, that's all we got to do. Trying to also be safe here, so if knight g5, anything crazy, we just go knight to f6, everything's defended. If they go here, then we can actually just go bishop to e7. We're not in any rush to do anything crazy. I've said crazy quite a bit this time around. Maybe I'm going crazy. But we'll see. So yeah, here, my assumption was that if we just go bishop to e7, we'll be totally fine. And I feel like that's going to be the case. So we could have also gone queen a5 check, which is kind of cool. But I did not do that this time around. If they go bishop e2, then I'll probably just throw this check in. It's always nice because we can meet b4 with taking on passant. Yeah, so let's just throw this move in because it just kind of gives them some discomfort, right? If they move back, then all of a sudden, why did they play knight e4? And if they go there, then they can't castle now. So that makes me quite happy, and I just want to follow things up with castling now. Queen c7 is covered, so I'm not worried of losing any pieces. There's no threats against our king. We can always go h6 anyways. I'm not really worried about h6 quite yet, but I do like the fact that this guy is attacked, so they have to be at least a little bit careful. e4 is interesting. I think if e4, I'm just going to go h3. Kick that knight away. I like h3 here as well. Actually, I have a really cool idea. H6, sorry. My apologies, not H3. Knight E4, and then I go C5 to attack the knight. And the idea is I'm just trying to rip things open. So they can't really take on C5. Can they? Maybe just playing things a little bit closer to the chest is a bit better. But I'm going to start with this move anyways. I don't think it actually hurts us. So I was looking at C5. We can still evaluate it here. If they go H4, we just ignore it. We never take that knight because that's extremely risky. But yeah, we have moves like C3 potentially coming, or just Queen D8, consolidating move. The fact that their knight's on D2 instead of somewhere else is kind of playing in our cards, not theirs. So that's nice. So I was looking at C5 originally, but I should actually mention that it's not a good move after 94 because they can actually take on C5. We take back, pawn takes, bishop takes G2, and then they have these moves like rook to G1, where we can just end up in a lot of trouble with some sort of like, after we move our bishop, then queen takes H6, and there's mate threats. So, yeah, I would rather play this with maybe rook to C8, trying to go for queen C7, because this, I think, forces a queen trade. And queen trades are hugely beneficial since we're up a pawn, and we're just trying to consolidate. They do have a lot of pieces near our king, so that's important to recognize. I don't think it does anything quite yet. Their quality of the pieces isn't great, but the quantity of them is quite large, right? These three specifically, and this one only takes one move to get in the game. So I'm not really interested in playing any sort of C5s quite yet. I'm more interested in this move here, queen C7. And again, yeah, so the only way they can escape some sort of trade is if they go queen to H4, but after knight E4, I'm not sure exactly why that would be so great. They probably will not want to trade. And it's not like they actually have to. Because queen H4 is... It's an attempt. There's no immediate discoveries that win anything, but this definitely helps us. So I like A6, and then A6 actually prepares this move C3. So we can just take this pawn. We could also go A5. This does a similar thing. Or we could go C5. Opening up our bishop, which I think is probably the... I don't know if it's the most effective. Because then we open up their rook. I'm still looking at C3 the most, but the problem is this pawn hangs at the end, as we can see here. So I just kind of want to play A6. Yeah, let's play the consolidating move A6. We're threatening C3 to win this pawn. And when we get that pawn, then we can start pushing this guy up the board. And that's actually a serious problem for them. Since we have the two bishops, we can play on both sides of the board, but they can't really do the same so easily. Yeah, I'm liking C3 quite a bit. Now, they could play B4, though. So that's one thing that I have to look at. So let's not do that then. If they have B4, that's pretty serious. So let's just go rook D8. And now I'm looking at C5. That's the good thing about these types of positions, is as long as your pieces are going to reasonable squares, you don't have to just go for one idea. So A6 is just a fine move overall. Like, even though we didn't get C3 because it turns out B4 was a problem, at least we found that out. So we could have gone A5 instead, and we can still go A5 with this idea of C3, because then B4 we can just take it a bunch, which is good to know. Okay, so they move king H1. If G4, I always have C5, so I'm a bit confused by that move. So I think I'm just going to continue with A5, actually. It's a bit of a waste of time, but nothing serious, at least. Okay, so I think they might have seen the threat. And let's go bishop D6 and see where this guy's going. Do we need to go bishop d6, or could we go knight d7? Knight d7 looks good too, with the idea of trying to trade. I want to keep my bishop pair. There's no reason not to right now. If they move away, then I can go knight b6 to a4 and target this b2 pawn. Again, whenever you have these types of positions, we're up a pawn, and we can probably say that we're winning at this point, but there's no rush, really. And that's kind of one of the biggest problems people may have at these levels, is they want to rush the win. Right now, I'm just trying to consolidate my pawns, solidify everything, and make sure it's all pretty. And I think I've done exactly that. So I would love to play f5, but I can't because the e6 pawn hangs. So I could start with g5. I could also play c5. This is actually fine now, because after the trade, we can just get full control over this file. I really like c5. I'm going to play this move. I'm not scared of this exchange at all. In fact, I encourage it. And now, although we got rid of our bishop pair, we got something a bit more tangible as a result. And specifically, that is the fact that there are fixed weaknesses on the dark squares. We have a dark square bishop, and we can easily see ourselves just re-maneuvering to f6 and just winning the game, like, immediately. So no rush. There's only one open file. Originally, I wasn't so happy to open it because it felt like our control of it wasn't as good, but specifically because of bringing the rook to d7, like what is shown here, there's just too many problems for them. And now I'm going to play bishop to f6. I don't even care about rook to d2. I'm more interested in getting the bishop to f6. Because if the bishop gets here, then we can also play moves like c3, c2. So yeah, g6. And now bishop f6. So we're ready to take. And in this position, I think rook d1 check followed by rook b1 should just kind of solve everything. We can also just start with this move too, which is kind of funny. Provoke more weaknesses after f4. Is it necessary though? I don't think it is. Let's just go rook b1, and then we can take on b2. If knight e4, we just give the check, f4, and then we take on b2. Very important that we do it like this. Because if we take on b2 immediately after, then this is a blunder, because they can actually take on f6 with check. So after knight e4, bishop e5 check, f4, and rook takes b2, everything is nicely defended. So I'm going to take this with the bishop, because with the bishop, now we can attack this pawn as well. And now these guys start rolling. All of them. So if they go rook b8, okay, they didn't, so I don't have to worry. Anyways, I'm just going to go c3, c2. How should I do this? Maybe bishop to a1. This looks like the most effective way to win. And the idea is after knight takes c1, we have rook to c1. Otherwise, we're going rook b3 and taking the a pawn. Kind of some funny stuff going on here, but all of it looks quite winning. So they're trying to go for some knight d6 counterplay, I think. But I'm not particularly worried about that. So we can start with... I was also thinking of rook c1, c2, and then just giving this check. But now it's not possible because our bishop's not there. Let's just go for it with rook b3 and taking a3. They can go knight d6, but the unfortunate part for them is even if they get that pawn, they just can't get enough for any sort of either perpetual or really anything. They don't have enough pieces to create massive threats. So I'm just going to go up, move on up. And let's bring ourselves further into the center. Be careful here. I think we're okay, though. Now we have c2. Yeah, this looks good. Looks like a winner. We always have enough squares. Like, it's very unfortunate for them. Right now we have d5 and d6, which is just too many. And there's not really a good way to cover them. Like, if they go rook here, first off, I can probably get away with king d5. But also, I also have these moves here, like king f6. So again, there's too many moves for us. Even if they somehow like win our rook after f4, it doesn't matter because we're going to be winning after c2. So c2, f4 check, king e4, knight c5. We're going to take a3. They're going to take our rook, but then we're going to be just promoting at the end of it. So yeah, we'll just give up the rook. We're totally fine with this. King e4, knight c5, and we'll just take here. And this is what I meant. Because now we're promoting next move, and they can't do anything. Of course, we have to take. Don't promote, because that would be a huge mistake. And bishop b2. Now we promote. And this one's going to promote as well. So it doesn't really matter that we're down the bishop there. Or down the exchange, my apologies. Because it's equal material and our pawns are just so far advanced. And our king is really well placed. We're just going to take that. We could also go bishop e5 check to win the rook. I think it's a bit more brutal to take with the g-pawn though. Because this avoids any problems. So check and then takes. Actually no, this works fine. Check, takes. Yeah, and the thing is, after we take, if they take either way, then we can go either bishop e5 or bishop d6. And if they push, then bishop d6 as well. So, yeah, and then we're promoting and winning. So that was a messy game. Very messy game. So let's take a look at it. Definitely feels like we misplayed this, but by this point we should be winning. Maybe I should have taken on c4 here as well. I was thinking about it, but I thought we'd just play e6 as well, just in case. And after a3, now it's definitely time, since they're not willing to transpose with either e3 or knight f3 here. And it's not even a transposition, because the bishop really should not be on f4 in these lines. But yeah, after taking on c4, it's kind of like a Botvinnik, but their bishop's not on g5, and they didn't play knight f3. Like, this move a3 is just kind of a huge hindrance for them. And we don't really have to worry. So I was looking at knight d5. Turns out it's totally fine. I was happy with queen b6, though, and also knight h5. Looks like everything kind of turned out well here. Knight g5 really isn't anything after knight f6, and bishop e7. And yeah, this queen a5 check is surprisingly annoying, and it's the top move, which is really cool. And the reason why is because, yeah, the knight kind of has to go back, or they ruin their king side by having to go here. Like, again, b4, we can take on Passant. That's important to mention. And if they go knight d2 or knight c3, then all of a sudden, why'd they play knight e4 in the first place? And we're just up a ton of time and winning here. So probably it wasn't necessary to exchange queens. I thought it was fine and appears to be. A6 is a bit slow, so maybe a5 was better. And the reason why is because now if they go here or something, then we can actually consider c3. Where after they take, we can take here and play something like b4 and just try to start getting these pawns rolling. I don't really know if this is that effective though here, so I'm fine with a6 and then a5. And actually, even this move a4 I thought was extremely interesting, because after a4, this pawn is just fixed on a dark square where we're going to be opening things up somehow and targeting that pawn. And it's not an easy one to defend. You really don't want to be defending this guy with rooks the whole time. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with how things turned out here. Everything looked to be quite okay with rook b1. And taking, yeah, maybe I could have been a bit more accurate here and just take on a3. I think playing c3 was a bit silly and not really necessary, but this this definitely helps. And one of the cool things as a benefit is after rook b8, it's not immediately possible to play bishop d6, but it's definitely in the air. So after rook b8, we can play c3, for example, and they can't take it. Wait, can they take it? I guess they can take it, funnily enough, because they can take here at the end of the day. But after b4, this is still winning anyways, because we're playing a3 and a2, and there's not really a good way to stop it. Knight d2, we just go bishop e5. And even if they get the knight to b3, we still win the knight. So like king g2, a3, knight b3, a2, king f3, and then a1. And this guy actually promotes as well. So actually it doesn't technically promote, but it doesn't matter because we can just leave these two pieces as is and just win this side while the king is just stuck babysitting this pawn. Of course, more accurate would be to move the bishop first. So the bishop's like on f6 or e5 instead. But that's about it. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this game. An interesting one. It's hard to get Semi-Slav games, and we are at 1500 now. I record these in sessions for each week. So whatever my next game will be is going to be the game for... like, yeah. So if I get like a London or a Dragon instead of a Semi-Slav, then there'll just be an extra one of those instead of another Semi-Slav. So hopefully that doesn't happen. But if it does, then sorry about that. And you know, I'll double upload like a Semi-Slav thing in the next coming weeks if I get the option to, because it's just so hard to get Semi-Slav games these days. Because I don't know, it's just I'm getting unlucky and not getting d4 played against me much. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.